Welcome to Lunch with Launch. Just to set context, Launch is our college's hub for entrepreneurship and innovation. And so in this capacity, what we do is we do three macro things. One, we work with aspiring entrepreneurs, maybe some of you who have a startup idea, and we help work on that startup idea and make it a real company. So that's kind of one macro initiative. The second is we try and keep the college on the forefront of innovation. And so we are working primarily in new modes of communication and experimenting and testing to see how we can keep Emerson College at the forefront of innovation, particularly around communication. So think of things like voice, augmented reality, virtual reality. And then the third thing we do is help bring innovation from outside into the college. And that's where the Lunch with Launch speaker series comes in and what brings us together today. So we used to do this, of course, virtually, but in this new setting, in person, but in this new setting, we've actually gone virtual. But what this has allowed us to do is actually open up the breadth of speakers that we can reach out to. And today we have the pleasure of having Aruz Tekir here from Urbanite Venture, who's going to talk to us about building smart and sustainable cities. Okay, so that just gives you a little bit of context for Launch. We have a BCE 110 class, which is really the core of today. And I want to thank my class for allowing the rest of the college to join us as well.
No.
Okay.
What?
Arzu, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. John Sullivan unfriended me and sent me this horrible messages. Like I will show you after your meeting. Yeah.
I think so.
You're not muted.
You're
not muted.
You gotta fucking unfriend him.
Hey, you're not
calling me fool
muted.
and naive and like all sorts of things. Like I was like, I'm not hurt by your language, but I'm sorry you feel the need to use insulting language.
Okay. Hello.
I feel more powerful than like being hurt by your choices or whatever.
Arzu, are you there?
I'm muting myself.
Yes. We can't see you.
You can't see me?
Can the others see you?
I can see you as well. When you mute myself, my webcam. Anyway, I'm trying one more time. So okay. I think no.
Yes, I can see you now.
Okay.
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 Okay, well, listen, thank you very much for joining us. Perhaps what we could do is just start by you giving us a little introduction for yourself, your background, and your journey so far. What we're here to talk about, of course, with you is building smart and sustainable cities. And for everybody else, what we're going to do is we're going to have a little structured presentation for about 45 minutes. I've got a set of questions, and Arzu actually went to the trouble of creating a presentation and slides for us. So she's going to share some slides, and then we will have Q&A for the last 15 minutes or so. If you have a question, please put it in the chat, and we will get to it that way. Okay, so Arzu, I'll turn it to you.
Thank you so much for all of you to join us today. So I am the founder and CEO of Urbanite Venture, which is a growth consulting firm located in Florida. And it's a growth consulting firm with expertise in smart cities, sustainable cities, and also fundraising, startup fundraising. We mainly work with urban tech companies and their investors to help them build their businesses and also their, helping them their growth and also accessing capital with our services. We have very niche, work area, smart mobility, smart energy systems. Like this. And I moved Florida 3 years ago from Istanbul. I was the country director of WRI, World Resources Institute, Ross Center for Sustainable Cities program in Turkey. I've been in the field, smart and sustainable cities since 2005. So I'm very happy to share my knowledge today. I am very glad to see you in this webinar. So I prepared a presentation to make our conversation more structural. So I can share my screen. How we can continue, Sanjay? Okay.
Yeah, so obviously the first question I think is, what is a smart city, and what is the impetus, or what in our class we've talked about shifts and forces, and like the imperative, and like why should we care about smart cities, right? So that's an obvious starting point. So I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, great question. Actually, in my presentation, I am starting with the smart city definition, why cities matters, and also I'm going to explain what are the challenges to make our cities smarter, and what cities should do to make their cities smarter. And Sanjay also give me a heads up, so I can also create some slides for you if you are interested in smart cities and work in smart cities, but not just in technology side. I hope you will have some inspiration and also understanding on smart cities as well. So let me start with why cities matter. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Okay. I'm also checking my notes, so you can look at the slides. And why cities matter? Cities around the globe are the front line of dealing with the climate change, whether that is concentration in urban areas like drought. We are seeing places around the world, in San Francisco, for instance, sea level increasing and flooding. Some places we see both. Climate change isn't only disrupting our economy and destroy our properties, but costing increasing number of lives. So cities are looking to each other for the best practices and lessons learned. So looking for international help for the solutions. So that's why international organizations has been building a lot of programs to help cities and create some new synergies between the cities as well. Within 30 years, more than 70% of the population will be living in the cities. Cities have a crucial role to play, reduce carbon emission levels, so we can ensure that climate change will not reach at the catastrophic levels.
Arzu, do you want to move to the next slide? I think you're talking about data on the next slide now.
No, I am okay. And cities cover also 2% of the global land mass, but they produce 75% of the global wealth, equal amount of carbon emissions. Clearly, most of the impact comes from climate change in relations to emission and comes from urban areas. So that's why cities are so critical. You see in my slide right now, 3.7 million, annual premature air pollution deaths, traffic fatalities, etc. So cities should have to think about smartly and create, better solutions for all urban residents. So the second slide, you see that cities' contribution to global economy, and there is still opportunities. We are talking about the climate change and their disruptive, destroying causes in our economies and in our lives, but there is still opportunities. So that's why building our cities smarter and sustainable, make them more sustainable, is very critical, because the opportunity is still there. Still share of global GDP, as I told you, 80%, and annual global infrastructure investment needed over next 20 years is $5 trillion US. So by 2050, 75 of the infrastructure yet to be built, So in this critical phase, we need to think smart, we need to think about sustainability and make our cities more livable, lovable, and smarter as well. So there is no still consensus on what the smart city is and what is the smart city definition. So I like this definition most. I got it from St. Albert, Canada's Smart City Strategy document. And a smart city is an urban area that solves its core issues through innovation and collaboration, and that applies new technologies and data for the benefits of all. Yeah.
So you know what, Jen? They will see how complicated it is when they take you off it. So they will see how much work you did, because I know you and I know you.
Arzu, can you hear me?
Sanjay, I think you muted everyone.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I am unmuting myself.
Yeah. Hey, for everybody that's on the call, we need to ask you to go on mute, please. Thank you. Arzu, can you?
I can hear you. Can you hear me on my screen as well?
Yeah, we can hear you. Just one thing, sorry to interrupt, but I'm only seeing your title slide. Is that your intent?
This is building blocks, smart economy, smart environment. Can you see this screen?
No, we've only been looking at your title slide.
What is title slide?
Just the first slide, the cover slide with your picture.
Oh, really? I'm sharing my screen again. Can you see this?
Yes. Okay, we can see this slide now.
Okay. And so far, do you have any question and do you want to ask something, Sanjay?
I think it might just help just to flip back to the two slides. I think you were just giving us some context for what's happening, right? And so basically the reason for smart cities is we are having this massive explosion in population, right? So
can you see my screen this moment?
Yeah, we can see this.
Okay. I was explaining all these things, you know.
Yeah.
Why cities are.
But the point you were trying to make is that smart cities are important because we're going to have an explosion of population in the next 30 years. So
yes,
Justin Bieber says we've got 7 billion people in the world today, and we're going to have 9 billion people in like 20 or 30 years.
Yes.
So with that is going to come this incredible amount of building and infrastructure. With that is going to come more, harder, more pollution, longer commutes, more people dying in accidents. So there's all this stuff that's happening because of the growth in population and the growth in our urban infrastructure, right? So,
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And what are the building blocks for, you know, making our cities smarter? Actually, in 5 years, half of the smart cities will be built in the world, in North America and Europe. And turning a smart city, I always say that, what are the smart cities? Which cities are smart? No, there is no smart city actually, because smart city is a journey with no end. So we can talk about smart city projects, but we cannot show that this city is a whole city is smarter, because there is a turning a city into a smart city is a long journey, because there is a need of enormous political will, leadership, finance, and capacity in the city administration. There is also a significant need to develop new policies that will complement the latest technological innovations as well. And all key stakeholders, startups, cities, NGOs, energy, technology, utility, mobility companies need to focus on improving the quality of lives, not the technology alone. And all this pandemic and impact of the climate crisis we've been facing at this moment, and top of that, migration is another issue. Migration from the conflicted zones to developed cities and countries, increasing population in cities, show us we need to have a holistic approach. So when we develop a smart city, in this holistic approach, I can share 6 building blocks. One is, the first one is smart economy, which covers smart ecosystems, digital transformation, circular economy, and creating jobs. On the smart environment block, smart grid, environmental sensors, environmental protection. And we can talk about, and we can add this energy efficiency in this block, and water management, which is also very critical. And smart government, bridging the digital divide, internet penetration and free Wi-Fi, which is very important at this moment for the school kids. And there's been a challenge for many school kids during the pandemic. And open data, digital citizens and business services, smart lighting, public health. On the smart living side, we can talk about digital healthcare, smart buildings, social life. We can also, we cannot think about a smart city without art and social life and culture, libraries, and green spaces. And smart mobility is the most important building block one of the most important building blocks. Low carbon mobility solutions, e-mobility, if we are talking about reducing carbon emissions, make our cities more productive, and commuting should be faster. E-mobility, bike and scooter and car sharing. Smart parking solutions and traffic safety is very critical as well. Of course, without smart people, we cannot talk about smart cities as well. Digital inclusion is very important. Getting feedback from your residents and citizens and shop owners is very crucial. Digital education, e-learning, distance learning, and digitalization of the job market is also under this umbrella block, smart people. The other critical factor to build smart cities is a bit ignored in the smart city discussion, and marketing and communication. I'm in telling the smart cities. I'm gonna jump in this detail in other slides. And you asked me, Sanjay, what are the smart city challenges? What are the challenges to make our cities, smarter? There are many actually. And in this slide, you will see that a framework that I got from Professor Finger from Switzerland, a school that I, studied there. So let me explain the digitalization impacts on the cities first. We have urban infrastructures that have performances, efficiency, sustainability, and resilience. These infrastructures are governed and managed and mutually influencing each other, as you see. You can see my screen, right?
Yes, we see the smart city.
Okay, great. And the performance of these infrastructures has an implication on the quality of life that citizens experience, and all the competitiveness of a city that is particularly relevant for businesses as well. And both together, citizens and businesses again determine the type of governance and management of urban infrastructures. Now you can see on the red dots, there are a series of challenges that cities should face. Typically, those are economic challenges and financial challenges and social challenges, metropolitan challenges, resulting from the fact that the metropolitan area is much bigger generally than the political entity, and there are a lot of political challenges as well. And finally, there are technological challenges, as all technologies in the infrastructures are currently evolving, and regulations are not, keeping up with technological changes. So, do you have any questions so far? Shall I continue?
Arzu, I think so. So the point is, the difficulty is in actually getting everybody to work together. Could we back up for one sec though? I think what would help is, could you give us some examples of smart cities, like which cities are working on these initiatives? I know Copenhagen or Pittsburgh, Mexico City. I think it'd be good for all of us, the audience, to kind of hear examples of smart cities and how it's bettered our lives.
Yeah, it's a great question. Actually, there are a lot of smart city examples. For instance, in Brooklyn and in Taiwan, we can talk about smart energy solutions through blockchain technology. And the other thing is, in Istanbul, the Metrobus system was very effective to commute, more than 2.5 million every day. So the lightning system, energy efficient lightning systems are the first project for many cities. They are starting with energy efficiency projects. So smart lighting projects are, very critical for many cities as well. I have other slides. Let me find them for you to show cities as examples here. Um, can you see my news screen at this moment?
No.
Can you see this?
No.
Estonia? No? Okay, let me talk. I don't want to take your time, actually. In Estonia, for instance, Estonia has become the first country to have implemented the blockchain for the healthcare industry at a national level. And in Dubai, 50% of the government transactions will be processed through blockchain by 2020. And blockchain, AI, Internet of Things are the very important technologies for the cities, smart cities, for instance. And in Sweden, Sweden has finalized.
Arzu, can I interrupt for a second? So you're saying that in Estonia and in the Middle East, they're using blockchain for healthcare.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like, what is blockchain? So is that we're not using money? Like, how does that? I'm just trying to understand for the audience.
Blockchain is one of the technologies, will be shaping our future in a short amount of period of time. So through these blockchain technologies, the blockchain technology provides us, security and safety for our transactions. So the blockchain is an incorruptible digital ledger of economic transactions that can be programmed to record not just financial transactions, but virtually everything of value. So why I cannot show my screen, I don't know, but let me try one more time. I'm gonna stop and share it again. So here. What is blockchain? You can see here is a, it is, Bitcoin. Everyone knows the Bitcoin, but it is not just financial transaction. It is not just used for financial transaction. It is also used for whatever you have in value. So this is all the framework at this blockchain. There are 5 principles of the blockchain technology. One is distributed database. The other one is peer-to-peer transmission, transparency, irreversibility of records, and computational logic. So 3 levels of the blockchain we can talk about. I don't want to jump into many details, but I just wanted to give you some examples how we can use this technology in cities, from healthcare, environment, energy, transportation management, insurance, and governance. It is, in 2018, when I joined a conferences, one of the speakers talked about the blockchain, and he clearly told that, in next 5 years, it will be shaping our cities. So please improve your learning curve. So there are some challenges of this using technology: lack of awareness and understanding, lack of standards, as all new technologies have this type of challenges at this moment, regulatory and legal uncertainty as well. It's one of the challenges, and sustainability and technical challenges is one of other, critical challenges of the blockchain technology. I mentioned about Estonia. Estonia has become the first country to have implemented the blockchain for healthcare industry at a national level. Have you heard about e-residency system in Estonia? Estonia, since getting a lot of attack from the Russia and cybersecurity, one of the most, successful countries in the world on the cybersecurity part. So they created e-resident cards. So with this blockchain technology, you can use it everywhere. So in the healthcare as well. So you can each citizen has been using this e-residency cards and this blockchain technology cards. You can use it in every, hospitals, and all your data in this digital cards, and they can access all your health information. With the government can do this. So in Dubai, 50% of the government transactions will be processed through blockchain by 2020, and they want to reduce paper waste in their offices and make their bureaucratic processes faster, 6 times faster, as far as I remember. And Smart City Sweden, for instance, Smart Sweden has finalized 2 years test pilot where can people buy and sell land using a blockchain platform. It is very, interesting thing to say that there are a lot of problems when we share our, properties or residential commodities. So through this blockchain technology and new technologies, they are, stored, all the data is stored in a safe spaces with the blockchain technology, and they can access, all this history of the properties, who buy, what kind of problems they had and what type of, records they have. So it is easy to access for both government and also buyers and citizens. And Moscow, it was very, controversial conversations happened a couple of years ago, blockchain-based e-voting. And to be able to make safer the voting process, they use blockchain technology, and it is used in different countries as well. In India, Smart India projects, they created a consortium of Indian banks to launch blockchain-based platform to help small and medium-sized enterprises to give loans and credits to help their financial restrictions and support them financially. And all these new technologies helping faster the process, and also reducing all this bureaucracy. On the smart mobility part, smart and sustainable solutions is used in, has been using in Paris, for instance. They are creating 15 minutes bikeable city at this moment, and they reduce car usage in the city areas, city centers. And now they've been promoting almost a decade the commuting by bike, because air pollution was a big problem in Paris, and traffic congestion was another problem in the city. Commuting also reduced a lot of productivity for each citizens as well. So that's why they are creating more livable, lovable spaces around also sustainable, low carbon mobility solutions they are implementing in their cities. We can also say that this is a smart city because they start with collecting data, and after using data, they are implementing all this smart project and smart and sustainable urban mobility solutions to other city locations. They started with bike sharing system, which is one of the pioneer cities in the world. And the other example I can give you, congestion zone in London. London Transport Authority developed this projects almost a decade ago, I guess, and they created a congestion zone. If you wanna go into the city with your car, you need to pay extra money. So this is also a smart city project, because the city centers are so dense and the traffic congestion is a big problem, and parking spaces is not enough for everyone. So that's why they are creating this type of solutions in the cities. Through that, the air pollution levels is decreased, and also productivity and oil consumption are also productivity is increased, and the oil consumption is reduced in the cities. And there are a lot of economic impacts, because when you make our city centers city centers, make livable and bikeable and walkable areas, it is also very helpful to improve the economic cities' economies as well, because a lot of people are tend to interact with each other, interact with shop owners, and they are doing shoppings easily. So that's why it is also very helpful, not the productivity of people living in the cities, also economy as well. So I can give a lot of examples. If you have any question, please let me know.
So Arzu,
Otherwise, I'm going to continue. I have a lot of slides I want to share with you.
so just to kind of encapsulate what you're saying. So a smart city has many factors. So one is from a technology perspective, it looks like a lot of countries in Europe are using blockchain to enable transactions, financial transactions, healthcare.
Yeah.
So that seems to be one piece. The other piece seems to be around the environment. So, bike lanes in Copenhagen, bike lanes in Paris, congestion where you're charging people in London to drive into the city. So there's a whole environmental aspect. Then you mentioned things like smart energy lights, things of that sort, parks. So there seems to be kind of an environmental, which goes back to your building blocks. So kind of environment, living, and then mobility, right? So autonomous vehicles, commute into the cities, those types of things. Am I encapsulating it correctly?
Yes, very well. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question? So all the cities that you talked about are foreign cities. Are there any? Is the U.S. behind, or are we just?
Yeah, of course, there are a lot of U.S. cities has been, implementing smart city projects. For instance, in Houston, again, with the blockchain technology, they are helping. They are also creating some social programs in their home, citizens, especially for the homeless people. I can share it with you. And the other examples, let me check my notes. So in New York also successfully implemented this walkability, bikeability approach in the city and increased the, almost 40% in the economy in the Times Square area. And with this, they during the Bloomberg mayorship, they created a lot of, pedestrian plazas and reduced the traffic congestion in the Times Square, I can say that. And they work with a lot of European city designers to create Times Square area pedestrianized area. So in the beginning, it was really different from the way of living, walking around in the cities compared to European cities. So Janet Sadık-Khan, the transport authorities leader, always explained this in her speeches. There is a fantastic TED talk Janet made several years ago. I can also highly suggest students to look at it. So Janet Sadık-Khan talking about how they made the city, more livable, more smarter. So, when we talk about smart cities, we just shouldn't focus on the technology. Technology is very important. Collecting data, understanding people's needs, understanding the challenges, and visualize all the problems with data is very critical. So in my cases, when I work with cities for a long time, I've been working with the cities, the most problematic issue for the cities is standardizing data, collecting data, and make it usable for everyone. This is open data procedures they don't have in many cities. So when you cannot open data, when you cannot standardize data, we cannot communicate with the startups, not communicate, building collaborations with the universities and other the departments of the cities. This is the main challenge of the cities. Actually, when they start to smart city projects, the data is the most important and critical element. And through that, you can also create sustainable solutions. For instance, Istanbul is, have you been in Istanbul? I don't know, but Istanbul is very congested city. Actually, after Mexico City is the third city as far as I know. So to be able to reduce the traffic congestion, the city officers developed a new project called MetroBus. It's a specific bus lane, just focus on like specific bike lane. You know, no one is interrupt this lane. So through this MetroBus system, the commuting was, you know, from, you know, how can I say, it reduced, you know, 2.5 hours, you know, commuting time to reduce to 45 minutes. So it was really effective. So you can create a very fast lane, and you can reduce the, you know, traffic emissions and increase the productivity. So it was really helpful, and it was very helpful for the also city economy as well. So the other thing from Istanbul, there are several historical centers in the Istanbul. One of them is historical peninsula, which is very well known. This is located Ayasofya Museum and also Topkapı Palace. It is very historical, very important area. So through this data collection and everything, city administration decided to pedestrianize 295 streets, and it increased immediately in a few years to 23% of the economy in this region. So this type of, you know, smart projects, of course, technology is important, connected devices, understanding the needs of the people and the challenges, and then you can create some smart and sustainable solutions to improve the quality of lives in this, you know, city centers.
Got it. So I think it's pretty clear then what the imperative for the smart city is and how we get to a smart city. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer and unarguable. Like, what you've heard are objections? Like, why would anybody not want these things? Is it money?
Yeah, money is one of the challenges. Let me show you one of my other slides. Just a second. Actually, for a long time, the big companies, multinational companies influence the city administration and impose their vision on the smart cities, and they just focus on selling the technologies, which was very expensive. Making a city smart or developing smart city project is very, you know, expensive. Years ago, you know, 2007, I was working for a technology company as external relations director. So the main problem was, you know, we were providing a technological solutions for the cities, my company, but other companies has, you know, the city invested in other solutions from other companies, but they weren't talking to each other. So it took a lot of time to understand city administrations or the technology providers. They need to think about creating some integrated solutions for the cities. They need to, you know, talk to each other, all these systems. Otherwise, you know, the cities made a lot of, you know, bad decisions, poor decisions in the past. So at this moment, multinational companies are seen as technology providers, instead of, you know, just bad guys and providing, you know, try to sell the technology to the cities. So, and the other thing is that I'm, you know, seeing when we work with the cities, when I work with the cities, for instance, I have another case here in the Florida. One of the small city here in Florida invited us to be their, you know, smart city strategy project. They wanted to develop a smart city strategy. But the problem is that they just like the idea of creating smart city, but they don't have enough capacity in their office. They don't have enough budget, and they don't have enough, not enough allocated team to develop this smart city strategy. So they just wanted to ask a consultant to develop this strategy to create a bid. You know, I clearly told them they are not ready, and they didn't, you know, they canceled the, you know, bidding process as well. So the starting point should be developing a smart city, but for the cities, they need to build capacity in their offices, and political will is the most important thing as well, because they need to do a lot of things. They need to change the regulations. They need to build collaborations with the startups. They need to understand, you know, cities need. And other thing is, there is another case. I was telling one of the city officials here in Florida, you need to communicate with citizens. You need to understand their specific needs. His answer was, Arzu, don't worry, I know everything about my people. Because he think that, you know, other, you know, for instance, the St. Albert, Canada is a small city. I did some benchmark for them. This city took 1 year to collect data to understand the real needs of the people and the real challenges of the cities. 1 year, and all this leadership team work on this project to collect data. They did their interviews themselves. They communicate with the people in their city. So the other case here in, you know, Florida, my colleague, I can say that, he's thinking that he has all the answers. He knows their people. It didn't work. It doesn't work with this, you know, mindset and approach.
So I think obviously getting everybody together and
yeah,
the justification, but and this actually is a question in the chat. And actually, it prompted a thought. I know Google was trying to build a smart city in Toronto or something, and all the citizens of Toronto got concerned about it. And it goes to Harry's question in the chat. I mean, once you start putting these smart sensors and things around cities, what type of data are they collecting without our knowledge? Shouldn't we be concerned about privacy invasion? You know, these types of, you know, privacy concerns and data collection unbeknownst to us.
Yeah, this is a very thin line. Actually, there are a lot of documentaries has been, you know, launched in a couple of years. You know, Facebook's Cambridge Analytica's case, another social dilemma in the Netflix at this moment. So the thing is that it is a very understandable concern. Actually, it is very important since the cities are not able to keep up with all the challenges, and they are not able to develop some regulations to protect you know, citizens' data privacy. There is a very controversial topic. Actually, I don't have exact answers, but I can understand the you know, concern of this Toronto citizens, city dwellers. The cities need to develop some procedures and regulations. Otherwise, all these technology companies, they can access all the private informations of all of us. For instance, as far as I remember, if I am wrong, please correct me, Facebook every day took every one of us 3,000 data. So that's why we are seeing, when we talk to someone else, we can see easily the other, you know, advertisements coming up to our screens and everywhere. So I'm talking too much on this question, I know that, but I don't have still a clear answer on this, but it is very understandable.
No, I think what you're saying is that, I mean, as I'm listening to you, clearly the tech companies, the big tech companies want to get their equipment and technology into the cities. But we need to have a conversation around, you know, what are they going to do with this? How are they going to monetize it? That didn't happen in the last 20 years. Facebook tons of data on us. And by the way, I'm sure, and I'm going to turn it to the group, but I'm sure there's a spectrum of people, some that are really worried about it and some that don't care, and you know, are still on Facebook. So the point is that there needs to be a discussion around what data is being collected, what are they surveilling, and what are they doing with it, and that probably isn't inevitable.
Yeah, actually, some cities and some country residents are very trusting their government, so this is not the issue. For instance, we had a conversation at the Berlin Urban Tech Summit. I was one of the speakers. So one of the speakers told us, yes, we trust our government, so that's why it is not important. So I have a chip in my, you know, wrist here, so it's so easy for us to give our data. So it is very challenging thing, you know, after 20 years, 2 decades later, we see at this moment some social media companies and technology companies are not just creating friendship networks, etc. There is a data thing, and also the Uber just, you know, sharing economy. When, you know, Uber as a technology company, when started promoting themselves as shared mobility company, sharing economy, they are supporting that. But at the end, this is a technology company and there is no sharing thing. So they are making money for themselves. Precisely.
We have about 12 minutes left. Let me ask them one question, and I'll turn it to the group. So Emerson College, we're the creatives of the world, and so you talk a lot about technology. And just as we close, like, what would be your views or guidance for the role of the creatives as these smart cities arise?
Yeah, I think I have slides for this question. Let me share my screen again. And how can we make our cities smarter, build the capacity in the city, develop a smart city strategy, as I told you, and build partnership with industry and experts, pay attention what other cities have experienced. Learning from each other is very important. So there are a lot of international institutions has been, you know, putting a lot of effort and creating some synergy groups on this. And the other slide I'm going to show you, especially to answer your question. Yes. How can we make our cities smarter? It is the most important element in my opinion is communication. Communicate well is very important. When cities, you know, embark on a new services projects, Emerson College students as well think about these ideas. The clear communication strategy and setting performance goals are a bit missing parts. So it is very important for when we talk about smart cities. And cities listening skills should be improved. So I think we need some solutions on this area as well. And storytelling is very important for leadership, but also when we talk about smart cities, city administrations and the people who works on the smart city project should become a better storyteller and tell their smart city stories better. So use each platform strategically to collect data, and, you know, data collection, it's not just about surveys, but there are a lot of social media, you know, platforms. So each media should be used very strategically, and blend each service and service delivery and communication. So public stakeholders, you can think about this, you know, who are the public stakeholders? City leaders, local governments, municipality and police, financing institutions, MDBs, bank and government funding programs, and knowledge institutions, and residents, civil society, businesses. They need to work together. So creative students and creative young professionals should think about how we can create better, you know, relations as a group of, you know, stakeholders. And big data, AI, IoT, social media, and digital divide are the critical elements when we want to sharpen our cities' listening skills. And to be able to become a better storyteller, we need definitely collect data, analyze data, standardize data, and define clearly expected outcomes. You know, one of the missing parts, some cities, you know, why New York was so successful, because they had very successful before and after studies. After each project has, you know, they completed, they immediately share their case studies, and before it was like this, the data was like this, and the visuals as well, and the benefits and KPIs they clearly define, and after studies is also was very helpful. So we as NGO leaders at that point, and some technology city designers, use these case studies and implement similar projects in our cities. And you know, the social media is very important, but cities also and some people, professionals, technology providers work on smart city project, use this type of social media platforms very strategically. And there is an application next door, maybe you have been using this. It's a neighborhood network, neighborhood updates, concern and complaints, you know, urban dwellers sharing to each other. So it is a very good place to collect data and immediately react. And this is a digital director of Barack Obama's 2012 presidential campaign, Steady Gov's quote: "Legacy media may be declining, but with the social media explosion, suddenly you can reach more people with a tweet or a Facebook post than a well-placed story in the local paper." So in our, you know, as an Urbanite venture, in other my, you know, enterprises, I'm not just focused on the, you know, local papers and printed media anymore. So the cities shouldn't be as well, because they can easily access many people immediately to explain why they are investing in this smart city project, what is the expected outcomes. You know, there is a very good communication, very fast communication tools at this moment. So young creative professionals think about make it better, this communication tools as well. So authenticity, transparency, accountability, and being proactive, very important as well. This is my slide for you. I hope it was really helpful.
No, it was. I think we're coming up on the end of our time. I think you've given us a real lot to think about in terms of the transition to smart cities. I wanted to just leave a few minutes for the class, our audience and the others, to ask you any last questions that they may have.
Yeah, we have 6 minutes.
Harry, did we cover your question in the chat?
Yeah, I think we did. I think we did over the course of the presentation.
I think I would just love some insight on what you think the relationship between like the coronavirus and smart cities are. Yeah, like what kind of things does that entail?
Do you mean what are the COVID-19 impacts on the smart cities?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, actually very fast, I can say that since after the COVID-19, we understood that resiliency in cities is very important. So that's why smart cities projects improved and increased to make our cities more resilient. So the other thing is smart low carbon solutions are increased as well, since people tend to either commute by their car instead of using public transportation. They are bike sellings increased. No one can easily find a bike to buy, and e-mobility, e-sharing projects also increasing in the cities at this moment. And healthcare solutions provided by cities as well. They're not just, but they also pay attention to smart health solutions to develop, to understand better elderly people's needs, and to collect data and to improve their health conditions on time.
So counterintuitively, it's not, the COVID pandemic isn't the end of cities, but rather it actually may spur more smart cities, because we're going to need autonomous vehicles, need parks and areas where we could socially distance, and
yeah,
it's a
actually autonomous cars is a great idea. It's very interesting, project and idea, but at the end, in my opinion, we don't need that. We need to have more livable spaces, public spaces, and we need to be able to commute easily with low carbon solutions. Because when we talk about climate change, creating autonomous car and hyperloops, etc., is not, helping addressing world challenges.
So I don't see any other questions from the group. Yes.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
One of my questions was, how do you think about smart cities being on water, or let's say in a couple of, well, not 100 years, but like 50 years from now in space? Like, do you think it's only going to stay on land, or do you think it's going to stand to like water cities or space cities or underground cities?
Hmm. It's a great question. Actually, I didn't pay attention and think about this more. Actually, the water city is, you know, unfortunately, we will see. We are living in Florida, but the forecasts are not so good for us. At some point, you know, we will be, you know, facing with the big floods. So
Laura, you had a question?
Yes.
I hope I answer your question.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Tamilora.
So I had two questions. Actually, a few years ago, I visited Dubai, and it was interesting to kind of see. Oh, sorry, that was my. It was interesting to kind of see how they built it. I mean, literally, like I was reading about the history when I went there and everything, and I mean, it's literally from nothing, like from nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was incredible to see how quickly they were able to develop such a, I don't even know how to like I don't such a yeah, I don't want to, it's not, I'm not going to say it's perfect, it's not a perfect place, but it's like so
Artificial.
yeah, like even like the shops and everything, and like you see different shops from different places, and they've incorporated a lot of different uh popular places from different countries. And I don't know, I just think that like, would you say like based on like what they did, like I don't know if maybe you could touch more about
Yeah, I have some, you know, I have some answers, I guess. This, you know, Dubai is a very interesting case. Years ago, they created a city from scratch. They wanted to, you know, these Middle Eastern countries are not just want to be, you know, known with their political and religious conflicts, and also just you know, with their petroleum richness. So they are creating this type of new solutions. For instance, Saudi Arabia Prince also created a, you know, started a new projects, a neon city from scratch. They haven't, you know, finalized this project. It's a long project, but they want to change the perception to their, you know, regions and countries, while creating some examples to the world, because in countries are not competing each other, but cities competing each other with their different, you know, solutions. For instance, Switzerland is very well known with their Vision Zero approach. They created this approach, created this methodology, and applying the other countries. They are implementing the ideas and approach in their countries. Now, this type of interesting climate, you know, risk mitigated projects and new smart city projects are kind of branding their identity of the country and also cities. I hope I answer your question, but the other thing is Tesla Town, for instance. The Tesla, the company has been building a solar city in Australia, and the small district has been developed by this company, and every energy system should be, you know, used through this solar energy systems. So each you know, building or residential unit will be sold $2 million US. It's kind of very expensive, but these type of projects are helpful to these big companies, projects, and cities branding themselves in a different way. And also, we also heard that Arizona, Bill Gates will be creating a small smart city in Arizona. So yeah, because these small examples can be easily implemented in other cities. So they want to be pioneer, in my opinion, with this futuristic and innovative smart city projects.
And then my other question was, can you briefly touched on how like social media plays like a big part.
Mm-hmm.
Could you give like maybe a specific example? I know that people are talking about Facebook and more so kind of its issues with security and taking data from people, but like
yeah, actually I am not a data security expert, so I just, you know, I have some ideas and I have some knowledge on this area, but as an expert I am not I cannot tell you about the details on this. But what I wanted to try in my slides, actually, I was doing this presentation to the World Economic Forum, Urban Forum. But when you want to collect data, you need to think smart. You know, on LinkedIn, for instance, you can communicate with the professionals, startups owners. You know, you need to think smart. You need to ask smart questions. You need to observe what they are talking about and what type of, you know, problems they have, instead of, you know, building their businesses in the city and developing new solutions for the city. This is a LinkedIn, for instance. And next door, I give you an example. There are some different, this is a different network. This is a different platform. All these people in the neighborhood talking to each other. So you can collect some information from them. I was trying to tell that on Instagram, you can just show the great projects as a, you know, PR tool, but people are not reading all this, you know, technical documents and informations on Instagram. So instead of that, you can use it for art and cultural and social changes and projects through this Instagram platform, for instance. I was trying to explain this in my slide.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any last questions? We're actually we're past.
And may I ask something, Mr. Arzu?
Yeah, sure. Tayhan.
Hi, hello. Just is maybe special question, but why cannot be Istanbul renewed?
Why Istanbul cannot be
renewed very well? For example, the last 5 years or 4 years, everything was changed very fastly. And for example, Eminönü'nün historical places in Fatih and just Hagia Sophia, it was good, but that's not enough. But also, it can be renewed. Just I don't know why. Can be better with smart technologies, but there is no any progress.
There are some good progress, actually, although there are some political challenges in Istanbul at this moment. I can tell that, you know, Istanbul is a 17 million people city. It's not
so huge, yeah.
It is not so easy to develop a smart city project compared to 40,000 people living, you know, city.
Yeah.
So that's why it's very difficult to develop a project. But when they started Smart City Istanbul project in Istanbul two or 3 years ago, the city created a 300 stakeholder mapping with 300 stakeholders. Our organization was one of them. So they created a lot of long, you know, workshops, and it takes a lot of time, you know, creating this type of big projects in Istanbul. Istanbul is also very good in terms of, you know, urban mobility projects and smart energy projects, but there are a lot of challenges as well. So it's not so easy.
Thank you so much. It's a very huge explanation from because I always wonder, I have been so much country, but why Istanbul cannot be renewed? Now I understand, because we think just maybe one thing, yeah, if you have a power, you can do, but I think that's not the related in the power. Much more than stakeholders. It should be same time stakeholders like a power who in all the country just it should be on the same table, not separated.
Not separated, yeah. And solo, the big cities shouldn't also silos, you know, they need to develop some integrated working places to create
much important things is like you mentioned in your speech, integrated, but no one has a clean communication, as you say.
Yeah,
it's a learning
process.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, Arzu, thank you very much for sharing the time and the insights with us. I think you're an entrepreneur, and the most valuable thing you have is your time. So you've given us a lot of it, and I think we have a better understanding of smart cities and the imperative of smart cities. And I'm going to close because I was looking at your bio, and one thing that was really struck me and was inspiring is that you're focused on building smarter, more livable, and more lovable cities. So thank you very much for giving us the time. Really appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us for this, this chat.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Please share your feedback. You know, I didn't give you some space to ask questions. I talked too much, I guess. Here is my email address, and you can also communicate with me through LinkedIn as well.
Yes, I'll share the deck and your email and LinkedIn with the community.
Okay, thank you. Have a wonderful day.